Welcome to this month's broadcast of the Coal Scene. My name is Chris Hamilton. I'm Senior Vice President of the West Virginia Coal Association, and I will be your host for the following half hour. Today we have a special edition of the Coal Scene, premiering a new video we've produced about the importance of coal mining in our state, and also the importance of mountaintop mining with emphasis on post-mine land development and mine restoration practices. Most of the media coverage on mountaintop mining operations typically concentrates on the active pit or the blast site and hardly ever looks at the completed job or the years and years of work around land restoration and land development that follows the active mining phase. In fact, you will find example after example of developed sites throughout all of West Virginia featuring recreational, commercial, or industrial facilities on post-mine lands. Most viewers are probably unaware of the large percentage of our state's overall coal production that comes from surface mining today. Although West Virginia has always been known as the underground coal producing state, and today we are still the nation's leader in underground coal production, and we're the second leading coal producing state overall. However, surface mining methods account for approximately 42% of our state's total production. And in many of our southern counties, surface mining well represents over 75%. That means that 42% statewide and almost 3/4 of all of our jobs, our total tax dollars and overall revenues come from surface mining or mountaintop mining. Let's watch the video and we'll come back and discuss some of the aspects of it.
The quality of life we enjoy today is a result of the energy we have harnessed to work for us. From the moment electricity powers our alarm clocks in the morning, we as a society depend on various forms of energy to cook food, transport us, and provide lighting and power to do our jobs. The internet and the computers that are intertwined in our daily living and jobs takes 13% of all the electricity produced. Providing energy for our society needs also provides thousands of jobs and a tax base from which our schools, emergency services, and roads are supported. West Virginia has always shared its variety of natural resources with the nation, and the mining of coal has long been one of West Virginia's leading industries. Generations of coal miners have mined the coal that helped win wars and power America. As the world has changed, so has coal mining. Today's mining is a planned out, engineered, and documented process where not a single shovel of soil is moved without knowing where it's going. However, in recent years, with the popularity of becoming a green society, coal and one part of the mining process has had many misconceptions spread about it. West Virginia is literally sitting on the potential to be the nation's energy center. There are 62 coal seams contained in 41 of our 55 counties. Since West Virginia became a state, 14 billion tons of coal have been mined, and there are 50 billion tons of coal remaining. Close to the coal reserves is the premier College of Engineering and Mineral Resources at West Virginia University. Since 1868, West Virginia University has operated the program that currently has more than 1,000 living alumni holding key management positions in all the major United States coal companies. The faculty of the mining school stay active in many research projects that improve the safety and mining process for West Virginia's valuable resource. Basically, there are two ways for mining coal. Both methods are highly regulated and well-planned processes. Currently, 58% of West Virginia coal is mined underground and 42% is extracted using surface mining techniques. Mining engineers use the factors of geology and economic considerations to decide which method and equipment will keep the extraction costs to a minimum.
Seams are surface mined because that is the only practical way to recover that coal seam. They're usually near the top of a mountain under very low cover. That is, there's only a couple hundred feet of rock at the highest point above that seam. It can't be safely deep mined, even if it's thick enough, because the rock above it is just simply not competent. Then when you apply all the factors that reduce the mineable reserve, like you need to start under about 100 feet of good solid cover. And if you only have 200 feet of mountain to begin with above your coal seam, that leaves practically nothing to actually mine.
In several mining operations, it wouldn't be economically possible, that is, without raising the costs of electricity, to operate an underground mine without sharing the preparation plant and other infrastructure costs with mountaintop mining. Mountaintop mining involves moving parts of a mountain to remove the coal. In about half of West Virginia's counties, less than 1% of the land has surface mining operations. This mining process has two phases. The first phase is the extraction or mining process. Right after the extraction phase is the restoration phase. The extraction process of surface mining involves big equipment and moving earth around. When viewing pictures and video of that one part of the process, it's very easy to make the assumption that it will always look raw. Just like with the construction of shopping centers, roads, housing developments, and even amusement parks, the extraction phase of surface mining is a transitional phase for the land. And just like the development of any infrastructure, surface coal mining has a plan before the process begins. In fact, the mining process involves more planning and permitting than any other land development. How the land looks after the mining process has gotten less attention because today's restoration process makes it hard to recognize where mining took place. Today's reclamation plans do not allow for mountains to be left flat unless flat land is needed for local business development.
If we don't have some flat land, we have no way to be competitive to build any kind of business opportunities. We want to put a housing complex on a surface mine. We think that's the right thing to do. We have some areas in our county that flood, and we want to take repetitive flood areas and build a community up there, because most of the time when coal companies finish the coal extraction, they leave the infrastructure there. So your water and possibly your sewer you may have to add, but you can do it. And it'd be a beautiful thing, and people never have to worry about getting flooded and losing their homes again. So a lot of opportunities if they'll just work with us.
The second phase of surface mining is restoration, like this area that was mined 10 years ago. While the restoration process hasn't received much media attention, it is intertwined with the mining process and begins as soon as the coal is extracted. Mountaintop restoration is accomplished by a plan that is approved by multiple agencies. As a result of restoration plans for mountaintop mines, wildlife thrives on many former mine sites because there are more ponds, wetlands, and generally a better food supply available from planned plantings and waterway construction. Once the various coal seams are removed, the reclamation process begins. The area is graded and configured according to a strictly regulated plan that's been approved by both state and federal mine agencies. The plan may call for development of wildlife habitat, reforestation with hardwoods, or a form of commercial site development. Several mine operations have quietly become Little League baseball and soccer fields, school sites, golf courses, business parks, and sites for prisons.
You can't get a permit unless you have an after use for that land. So everything we do now is being reused. There's nothing being wasted. There's schools, highway systems, industrial parks, agricultural land, farmland. Everything has a use. There's nothing just being left wasted.
Once the mining operation has moved into the reclamation process, most people can't tell what has been mined and what has not. Let's see if you can tell.
Farmland in Roane County. Reclaimed land in northern West Virginia. Farmland in Greenbrier County. Reclaimed land in southern West Virginia. Rural in character and rich in natural resources, the modern coal industry enriches our state and preserves our scenic beauty. West Virginia Coal, mining with responsibility and commitment to community and environment.
By law, mountains are to be restored to approximate original contours.
Would you believe this is an 18-year-old mountaintop mine? Not what you expected, is it? For more than 30 years, West Virginia has practiced responsible mountaintop mining. That's good for the land and good for West Virginians. Over time, Mother Nature lends a helping hand, and soon it's hard to tell what was mined and what was not. Mountaintop mining, beautiful, rugged mountains. We can have both. That's the way it ought to be.
Valley fills are everywhere there's ever been construction throughout the Appalachian Mountains. Take road building, for instance. Every place a road cuts through a mountain, the material is used as fill to bridge the gap. When land is developed for shopping centers or commercial sites, the material from the top is used as fill. In the mining process, the rock and earth that is removed to extract the coal is relocated to naturally occurring crevices. These are called valley fills, even though they occur in the upper portions of the mountain terrain. All of the moved material came from the site and is compacted as it's placed to secure it from moving. To claim that miles of streams are gone because of mining is misleading, since rain still falls after an area has been mined. And when rain falls, water will still flow in the creeks and streams, just like it has for millions of years. Reclaimed mine sites have sprouted tourism industries like the Hatfield-McCoy Trail. The trail system was created by the West Virginia legislature to generate a tourism industry in 9 southern West Virginia counties utilizing reclaimed mine sites. Currently, over 500 miles of off-road trails are in operation year-round, and the trail system has created over 50 new businesses in the area.
This is one of the best projects ever for Southern West Virginia. Southern West Virginia did not have tourist attractions. This was not a location for destination tourism. The Hatfield-McCoy Trail System has actually created a destination tourism location. Each year we bring in approximately 30,000 riders. Of those riders, 90% of them are non-West Virginia residents. This is a very good example of post-mine use. This is where partnerships are formed. The trail system partners with over 300 companies, coal companies, timber companies, gas companies, to make this trail system happen. If it weren't for our partners, if it weren't for the coal companies allowing us to use this property, there wouldn't be a Hatfield-McCoy Trail System. You wouldn't have those 50 new businesses. You wouldn't have those 200 jobs. This tourist attraction wouldn't exist in southern West Virginia. The beauty of the Hatfield-McCoy Trail System is that we can work around the industry. The industry holds the property for mineral extraction. They leave behind roads that we turn into trails. The very thing that they need to get the coal out, to get the timber out, to get to the gas wells is the infrastructure that we have to put in a trail system. We build less than 10% of the trails we use. The roads that we use were put there by industry for resource extraction. We come behind the industry, turn that existing road or trail into something that can be used for a tourist attraction, which gives it basically a life that goes on forever.
The Twin Hollow Campground is one of the new businesses and is on a former mine site. Owner Wayne Ellis is a lifelong resident and has seen firsthand the benefits of post-mine land use.
My family, my wife and I, we have an 18-year-old son at home still yet, so it's supporting all of us. It's a busy time, 8 months out of the year. There's quite a few people coming to ride these trails, and it's an opportunity that I've had because it's on top of a mountain, and it's flat up here. Of course, you can see that from where it's been mined, but if we hadn't mined it, then there would be no opportunity to do this.
The Hatfield-McCoy Trail System has the potential for up to 2,000 miles of linked trails. Future plans include areas for horseback riding and hiking. The coal mining industry is the fuel that keeps the heart of southern West Virginia counties going.
Every facet of life is intertwined with coal mining in many, many towns such as this. As far as the businesses, the community involvement, the programs for the kids, the little leagues, anything that happens in this area and the things that we love will go away because there will be no people left. We will have to leave because there are no other options. There are no other jobs that will provide this level of income for this many families, and the tax base will go away. We will have no publicly funded programs because there will be no money left in this area.
The mining process doesn't just happen on its own. College-educated professional miners and families with generations of mining experience are working every day in the mining trade. In West Virginia alone, 20,000 men and women are directly involved in the mining of coal. Another 30,000 work in businesses and occupations that depend on the coal mining industry. That's a total of 50,000 people, or about everyone living in the Charleston, West Virginia area. The miners and the mining operations account for over $2 billion of paychecks annually and $17 billion of economic activity. Miners are proud of the jobs they do for the industry. Michael Fox is a fifth-generation coal miner.
When you see pictures on the news or whatever, looking down on something, yeah, it does look awful bad. But you come back 10 or 15 years later, and you can't hardly depict on what's being mined and what has not been mined. I mean, they do such a good job now with the reclamation that it is hard to distinguish.
Coal severance taxes provide revenues for all 55 counties, support basic infrastructure projects, and needed educational and governmental programs for the less fortunate and senior citizens.
Coal supports our street department, our fire department, our police department, all the maintenance that we have to perform on streets. Our revenue is generated from coal.
We try to spend a lot of tax money back on our kids. We think that's the place to put it. And the coal severance money allows us to fund libraries, to build ball fields, parks. We have community projects. Until we get mainline sewage, we take care of a lot of sewer problems. We work on infrastructure, water. A lot of that is from our coal severance tax because the other taxes were mandated to, we're the financial agents for the county. We take care of our normal budget, the constitutional office holders, the sheriff, and circuit clerk, county clerk, prosecuting attorney. Those are mandated efforts that we have to do. But by having this coal tax, it gives us a lot of flexibility to do other things that people feel and touch back within the tax base.
West Virginia miners have been producing around 160 million tons of coal a year over the past decade. To keep the coal flowing and providing energy for our nation and a solid tax base for government, the industry will need to prevail over some legitimate challenges. Global climate change and the environmental assault on the mining process are the biggest threat to the value of our coal. The coal industry and the power plants have been developing and installing technology that reduce and capture the carbon emissions. Since 1970, while coal production has tripled, emissions from coal-fired power plants has been cut in half. New technologies have eliminated particulates and ozone contaminants. Today, the largest remaining challenge involves capturing and controlling CO2. The Mountaineer Power Plant in New Haven, West Virginia began capturing and storing CO2 in the fall of 2009. This is the first location in the world to actually put the technology in place to reduce coal's carbon emissions. Opponents to mining Appalachian coal have skillfully used the judicial branch of government to slow the permitting process, effectively stranding millions of dollars of investments. Permits for future mining already take years to approve because of all the detailed planning that's involved. The court system has become bogged down by claims that miles of streams are being buried. Most of what is being labeled streams are actually dry most of the time because water only flows in them when it rains. Common sense says that rain will still fall and water will still flow, supporting insect and wildlife populations whether or not an area has been mined. Coal makes 52% of this nation's electricity, and it will continue to be a major component of our nation's energy mix. It is impossible to quickly switch to new sources of energy. The permitting and construction of power plants can take more than a decade. So the real issue is not whether we'll continue using coal. The real issue is where it will come from and who will benefit. The Appalachian region is competing with Western and foreign coal sources to be the provider of energy. Not only do we depend on foreign sources of oil, but foreign coal sources as well. Coal mined from overseas is done without the environmental regulations and restoration practices that we have in place on American soil. The Appalachian coal industry has the capacity and an extraordinary experienced labor force ready to continue mining coal. The coal industry's environmental specialists, like its safety specialists, are the best in the world. They work in their professions like they have for generations with pride for a job well done. Every day they build ponds, plant trees, and monitor water quality. They don't talk much about it, they don't march about it. They want the work they do to speak for itself. Our region has nearly 1/2 of the nation's coal reserves. We must do everything within our power to support the coal industry to safely and with a green conscience mine coal. As America grows in her energy needs, we are poised to capitalize on the high growth opportunities the domestic energy industry will have. Our miners on the average make $50,000 to $60,000 a year. That's buying power in local communities for cars, homes, utilities, groceries, and college tuitions.
If you're going to live here and you're going to make a good living and have good benefits, you're a coal miner.
We often think of the repair shops, the vendors, the people supplying the diesel fuel, the vendors supplying the explosive agents and so forth. But then you have to think about, where did this mining permit come from to begin with? And that's typically done by an outside engineering firm who employ skilled technicians. We're looking at laboratories that do the water monitoring. We're looking at labs that do the testing of the rocks, for instance. When we do core drilling, we have to talk about the folks who go out and do the geologic studies and investigations to begin with. These are highly skilled, well-paid jobs that we're talking about.
Mining is a viable industry that employs 50,000 West Virginians and supports 13% of the state's gross product. It's an industry that supports other business development and a thriving tourism business where people come from all over the world to enjoy our natural resources.
You know, we can look at coal at this stage in its evolution as being a bridge to whatever is next. The coal industry is good at producing coal. The electrical generation industry is good at generating power. Now, it's the government, the policymakers, the elected leaders that need to be looking forward and saying, what is the practical path forward? And let's let market forces determine where our next source of energy is going to come from. Let's not make it, let's not make an artificial decision that disadvantages one form of energy against the other, when on a competitive basis there is no question as to which is better over the next couple of decades. And that's, of course, coal-fired generation.
This golf course is one example of a successful post-mine use project. The course was laid out by Mr. Pete Dye, who incorporated many of the elements from the land's coal mining past into an award-winning design. Responsible mining practices are in place that resulted in this tourism attraction. Every mine site has the potential to provide its local community with many development opportunities. Our Appalachian region can become our nation's energy center. In order for that to happen, all of us need to approach the coal mining process with reason and common sense. Along with the mining of coal, we must support the development of renewable energy sources as well. Coal's energy has brought our quality of life a long way. Coal is still an abundant, affordable, and reliable source of energy for our nation. With the technology developments that are happening and proper planning for its extraction, it's becoming a cleaner, greener energy source for all in our society.
I hope that you have enjoyed the video and hope that it answers a lot of your questions about coal mining and in particular mountaintop mining. Perhaps no one has summarized the importance of the coal industry to our state any better than Governor Joe Manchin in his State of the State address in early January.
West Virginia will play an increasingly important role in our nation's energy's future. West Virginia ranks second in the nation in exporting electricity, and most of our coal and natural gas is sent out of state. Despite the fact that half of our nation's electricity is generated by coal and that our national economy depends on this abundant, reliable, and affordable energy, some want to villainize this resource that helped us win 2 world wars and built the greatest country in the world. We must continue to stand up for our coal miners and their families. We're not asking for a handout. All we're asking for is the permission to work. We are reaching new and better ways to use our coal. There is a balance to be had between our economy and our environment, and West Virginia is leading the way in finding that balance. Our alternative and renewable energy portfolio requires that 1/4 of the energy used in our state to come from alternative or renewable energy resources by the year 2025. A progressive law such as this is already paying off. We have more than 1,000 megawatts of wind power in service or in development. That's enough power to take care of more than 250,000 homes. 250,000 homes. And we have the 3rd largest wind capacity of any eastern state. The world's first successful carbon capture and sequestration, this is a tough one, sequestration project is at AEP's Mountaineer Power Plant in Mason County. And an advanced pilot project is capturing CO2 at the Dow Chemical Plant in South Charleston. These pilot projects will lead the way for implementation of this technology at coal-fired power plants around the world. Plans are moving ahead on a coal-to-liquids project in Mingo County that will use state-of-the-art cleaner coal technology. Through this technology, West Virginia coal will be our primary energy source as we make the transition to the fuels of the future.
It is clear that coal mining plays a vital role in our state's economy. It has done so in the past and will continue to do so well into the future. As you have seen, much of the state's economy is tied directly or indirectly to coal. While it is true that our state must diversify its economy, it is also true that coal can and must play an active role in that diversification effort. Coal mining must be seen as a resource for today and a partner willing to lend a hand in building a future for our state and its people. That's our vision and our goal. Thank you for joining us today for the Coal Scene